DNA Elites Tutorials.
Used to be so simple.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I have put up an overlay for the keyboard and mouse so it makes it easy for you folks to see exactly what keys I'm pushing and how to control within the virtual reality world. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's go ahead and create a new scene that we can start from scratch, a base template basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the create button right here, and we're going to go ahead and click on create. And let's go to where it says worlds right here. We're going to go ahead and click on build worlds. We're going to create one from scratch right here. So what we're going to do is go up here where it says the create button, click create new world. And let's call this DNA Elites inside the world. Into the edit modes, we're going to go ahead and click on edit scene. All right, so now that we're inside the world, let's just give a little look around. I may scroll back a little bit, or I may press the right button on my mouse, and I may just move back with the S right here. And here's this is a blank template. There's basically nothing in here except for a spawn point and your grid to work on, and then they have a basic skybox in here. So what I'm going to do next is let's just go over the basic features on what we're doing here, okay? So I kind of need to have a reference point here. So I'm just going to use the spawn point as a reference point, okay? So the first thing I want to cover is the navigation. So it's the keys on how to navigate. So the W button is going to move you forward. The S button is going to move you back. The A button is going to move you to the left. The D button is going to move you to the right. So this is also the same buttons you're going to use when you're navigating your avatar in world. But at the same time, we are going to use it to actually navigate the editing tool, okay? So also you can see my mouse right here. You can see the marker right here. What I want to show you next is I may left click on this, okay? And see when I left clicked on it, it actually selected it. Now it's given me the actuators, or let's just call it the adjuster or whatever. So you have the X, Y, and Z, okay? So here's the red. You can go left and right. And all I'm doing is I'm actually selecting right on, and you can see how it kind of highlights it when you click on it. All I'm doing is holding left on my mouse and I'm moving it back and forth. Okay, now I may go to the green. It's going to move it forward and back. And then the blue is going to be up and down. Okay, so the next thing is I may go ahead and hold my left button on there, and then I may go hold down the control key on here. I may let off, and now you can see that it basically it's in rotation mode now, and you can clearly see it up here. Where if you're not comfortable with using the hotkeys, you can also use the keys up at the top. Okay. So again, well, because this is a spawn point, it's not going to rotate over and back. It's just going to stay like that. But as you can see, you can move the direction on which way you want them to look when they spawn in there, okay? And then also, if you keep holding down on the shift and then add the shift, then it goes to the enlarge. But you can enlarge spawn points because it's at one point. But if there's like maybe a tree or something, matter of fact, let's go ahead and bring in an object here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the tools, open up tools, go in my inventory, and let's just go ahead and bring in a ball, okay? So I'll bring in a beach ball. Here we go. Just dragging it right in. So as you can see, I'm left clicking on it to drag it out of the inventory, and then I'm just going to let go of it. Now it is actually in the world, which you can see right here. And let's go back to these controls right here. So if I was going to move it up and down, move it forward and back, actually forward and back and left and right. Let's go over it this way and look at it another angle. But check this out. So I'm going to go ahead and I may hold the control down, then I may hold shift. And when I grab onto the square, I can enlarge and shrink it just like that. Just by clicking on the little square, moving it back and forth. So these are the basic features or controls to navigate and edit inside World. Okay. So let's just go over to the top here. I may go ahead and exit out of the inventory. Let me just do a quick run through just to give you an overview. I'm not going to get too in depth with this, but right here you have the tools. This is basically, this right here will be probably your most important tab that you'll be using, which is your inventory, where you can actually purchase 3D assets and all these items inside the store and bring them in World, as well as if you are in World and you say you want to dress your avatar or you want to change your avatars out, you can also go into the inventory through the actual website and purchase it all there, but you can also go through the inventory and purchase it that way. So there's many ways that Sansar will actually allow you to purchase items inside World. Now, if you are a 3D creator or you are experienced in creating 3D assets, you can actually bring your assets into the World and sell them and actually make money. They sell in Sansar dollars, which there is an actual conversion to that. But most important is that you can, if you are a creator, I call this a sandbox. You can actually bring your stuff into Sansar, put it in your own world, and actually sell to other people that like your content or your 3D assets. So how cool is that? So let's go back up to the top. So let's just go right from the top down. You have properties, which is basically, every asset has some sort of properties. So in the properties, I don't want to get too in depth with this, but let me just say this. When I first came in, it took me a little while to figure this out. I didn't have anybody kind of like taking me by the hand to show me. So this right here is going to cut a lot of time and give you the basics. So inside the properties, you have the main motion type. So right now it's dynamic. Dynamic will basically mean if we actually publish this scene, this ball would be movable. I could actually go up to it with my avatar, I could click on it, I could throw it, I could kick it, I could do whatever I want with it because the property is in dynamic. Now, if I was say this is a rock, right, I would actually click it to static, meaning that I'm not going to be able to move it. But within the properties, it gives you the ability to collide with it. And, I don't want to overwhelm you with all this stuff here, but just to get the basics on when you start building, because this is the thing what happened to me is I built the world and I didn't realize that I was putting everything on dynamic, meaning that it just fell apart. So I was building a scene where all the ground was dynamic, so when I loaded in, everything just exploded on me. And it actually crashed my system because it was a lot that my computer had to render in order to make all those actions happen. So I just want to let you know, just be aware of this when you are bringing things into scenes, because people might load assets in with this stuff already set as a dynamic or a static or a keyframe, which we haven't spoke about yet. But this is very important when you are adding assets to the scene. Okay, so we're going to keep it on dynamic. Now, the other thing is the keyframe. Keyframe is more for like connecting it to scripts that need it to make an action. Okay, so there might be another term to it or another explanation for it, but the way I understand it is when you are designing scripts, basically it's the functionality. So we'll just say this: I want this ball to just spin in one place. Maybe it would replace a planet, or it'd become a planet, right? Well, what I would do is I would turn on keyframed, and then I would basically drag and drop the script onto this object to actually engage it to be like spinning like a real planet. Okay, so just want to let you folks know that the main motion type does have, I guess it's like a trigger per se to what, or functionality like starter to what the scripts would be doing. So I know I'm just talking about, and later on in other videos that we'll do, I'll get more in detail with it, but I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this. I just want to give you the basics. So, and that's as far as I may go with the properties. And then let's go into the scene settings. Okay, scene settings is kind of like, it's like the main it's the main setting of the experience. So this is where it's going to control the gravity. It's going to control the colliding with your avatars. I love creating space scenes, so I always bring my avatar, or I always bring the avatar gravity down to like 0.15. And then you have the backpack. This is basically this function right here. As you can see, it says no backpack because we're actually in the edit mode. But when you actually go into publish mode, if you have this turned off, and yeah, see it says none or sans our library, and eventually what's going to happen is you're going to be able to put more items in here where people will be able to res them from the backpack and put them in world. So how cool is that? So an example, this ball right here could actually be in my backpack, which it's already in the Sanzar backpack, but what if this was like maybe a baseball and I wanted to play baseball with somebody in world? Well, I would load the object into my backpack and then I could res it up in world. Okay. So let's go down to the skybox. Skybox is self-explanatory. This is like the main. This is basically this is the skybox right here. It's basically like you can't tell, but this is actually a great big square that has been designed to be brought into to show you like an atmosphere or a sky. Okay, so there's many skyboxes in the experience. So let's just pull one up. We'll say cloudy Earth. Okay, see how quick I changed that skybox right there. So let's go down. We can adjust the brightness right here. We can actually adjust the skybox rotation even. So say you had a big moon right here, but you said, well, I want to move the moon over here. You can actually adjust it by adjusting the X, Y, and Z. Okay. Of course, what gives it atmosphere is fog colors. So you can actually adjust the fog right here if you want to, make it dark, make it bright, whatever color you want. We can make it green, make it blue, and then you just hit accept, and there you go. We can also adjust the fog fallout. You can adjust the density of it. And you can also adjust your sky distance. Now, sky distance is important when you're creating scenes that are like, with a lot of space in it, because if you have your sky distance really short, what happens is if you get past the box, or let's just say and I'm not sure what this amount actually is, if it's in meters or feet or whatever it is. All I know is the whole scene is basically 4 kilometers square. Okay, if you think in kilometers, that's like almost that's less than 4 miles, right? And that's in real life. Okay, so you have that much space, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to put everything in that space in that 4 squared kilometers. Okay, because up here, and I'm segueing this information just so that you have a basic understanding. If you put a lot of stuff in there, you're going to start driving up the actual file size. Okay, when you drive up the file size of your world, what's going to happen is, it's going to take longer for that scene to upload. Okay, so rule of thumb, I'm just going to say this right on record right now. Don't go over. Try to keep your worlds between 2,500 and 2,500 and 5,000 draw calls, because what's going to happen is that is your computer that is rendering this this world, right? So what you want to do is you want to kind of be like in the middle of that, because say someone comes in with a laptop, or say someone comes in with a high gaming computer, or you want to make sure that you're giving them an opportunity to enjoy your world, and be able to get around. Because what's going to happen is if the world is too heavy, okay, I say heavy meaning like too many items inside the world, that's a lot of stuff that your computer has to render, right? So there is a possibility you're going to get some lag, meaning that the screen is going to slow down. And especially if you're using a VR headset, you're going to definitely see that happen, and that is what you don't want to have happen, because that's how people get dizzy in the headset, get stomach ache, get nauseated. You want to make sure they're having a good time, and don't quote me on this, but I think Sansar does look at everybody's worlds when they publish them, and they might go in there, and I'm again, don't quote me on this. They might do something in there to make the scene work more efficient, because you got to think this is their product, and they want to make sure that everybody has a good experience, right? So as a creator of these worlds, I want to make sure you folks are set for success. Okay, I don't want to have you folks go in there and start putting all this stuff in there, taking all that time, and then you realize that you built this world with too much stuff in it, and now it's like now it's like you got to pull the the twigs off the pile that you created because it's too heavy, right? So I want to help you folks out here to really know how to build a world most effectively and efficiently. Okay, so sky distance does have an importance in there. Uh, I'm not going to get into the exposure, all this stuff down here. I normally don't mess with this stuff. I leave it the way it is because they've already figured out what is best for your eyes and everything. But what I can say is the global illumination quality, there's actually multiple settings. When I'm like done, it's like I'm not going to mess with that world anymore, that it's done. It's the way I want it. I actually move it to best because this is where every little I would say every little calculation that you put in there the way you want it exactly is going to render at this best quality. So for an example, say a light shining on an object. Well, maybe I wanted the light dim, right? But the thing is, if I don't put any processing on it, I might not see everything that I adjusted, right? Now a preview basically gives you a little bit of it. Standard's kind of like in the middle. Maybe you might want to just always use standard, but what I can say, folks, is when you're editing and going back and forth from just looking in world and going back into the edit mode, just keep it on no processing, because this is the thing. You're making your computer process all these changes, right? Every time you put it on best, and it might take a long time for it to render. So when you are building, keep it on no processing, because that's going to basically upload all your changes the fastest, okay? And then we come down to the inventory and stream. So inventory is basically, and it's saying sound sources right here, right? So this is like the background sound. It's like, say it's like the wind or the air blowing, right? So I would actually go into my inventory. This would be going into the background sounds inventory, and I could select what type of sounds I want to put in there, okay? Or if I clicked it to stream, this would be like I could actually upload a YouTube video, which I can put right here, and it would play every time someone loaded into the scene. It would actually play this stream, okay? So I just want to make sure you folks know about the inventory sound source versus the stream, okay? So say you're going to do a live event, and you are the DJ, you're the host, you're basically the ticket man, you're doing everything, right? This function right here is a godsend, because you are going to be like you are running the whole show, but in essence what you're doing is you're just playing a pre-recorded video off of YouTube that in sense is the DJ, okay? Of course, this is the loudness right here. I say just keep that right there, because you got to think when people first load in, they have their settings set at a kind of like a mid-level. So that way, you're not blowing their ears off and stuff like that. But just keep in mind that when you start adjusting this, other people might have either really low or might have it really high. You just don't want to have a bad experience. Computer reverb, totally up to you. If you're in world, they'll actually add like some echo and stuff like that. Again, here you have the places where you can add the source in here, and this will be another video that I'll get into, because this will be involving how we set up your scene, and how we use the sounds and stuff with the functionalities and stuff, and then media streams. Now this is what I can say. A lot of people have asked, hey, I'd like to put more than one TV screen in my world. Well, right at this point, you cannot do that. You can only run one stream in world. So just keep that, in the back of your mind, that when you are putting TVs and stuff, don't expect that you can put different channels on every TV. Now, this is a thing. We can upload multiple channels to where you can click the button and it'll change the TV screen to that channel, but you can't have different channels playing at different times and stuff in there. Eventually that will probably happen, But again, what we're doing is we're streaming media from outside into Sandsar, and you got to think your computer has to do a lot of rendering for that. Okay. Visitor settings, not going to get too much into this. Allow free cam. This is where it's kind of like this. It's like you can actually pretend that this ball is an avatar. I could actually click on free cam, which is F4. Uh, I'll just push it right here. So F4 would be free cam in world, and then I can just move out of my avatar. I could actually go look around the world. Okay, so how cool is that? And then you got the teleport. That's basically allowing people to teleport in world. So that's another thing that I'll show you, folks. And then you have the teleport range. This would be if you are teleporting your avatar like through the scenes and you're not going to run or whatever, you can actually teleport. So you can adjust the distance on that. Bypass spawn point. That basically means that when people res into the world, they're going to load up around the spawn point. They're not going to be on top of each other. If you turn this off, then that means everybody will basically res up on this one spot right here. Okay, so of course script settings, that'll be another class, and the grid spacing and everything, and use grid. So this is for design right here. They're talking about this grid right here. If I turn this on, it'll actually add another grid. Because a lot of people just start with a environment and they don't want the grid. They just want to start creating. But say they want to measure everything out and create distances, you can actually drop one back in just by turning that on when you're in edit mode. Okay, so that is the scene settings. Inventory again. I'm just going to open this up here. Let me go ahead and delete this out. Okay, so all sources. So you have all sources, mean it's everything in your inventory. It can be from, just going to say the type. So you're going to go from the animated scripts to the audio to cameras to collections to lights to objects to scripts and textures. Okay, this is everything that is in here. And then your sources on that is what you've created, what you purchased, and then what the system has to offer. So right here, this is really important when you are creating functionality in the scene. So this would be putting in the sound. This right here is actually for an app that Sensor has designed to where you'll be able to basically go to events without being in virtual reality or being on a PC desktop. You'll be able to just open up your phone, and this camera right here will be the scenes that you can actually see in world. This is the directional lighting. You can only put one directional lighting in each world. So if you drop another one in there and you try to save, it's going to go bump, bump. You can't save with two directional light, but that's basically the directional light coming down. You have point light. This would be, and I really like how they show you the features. Point light is like a light bulb. Okay, so it's like light shining from all angles, like 360. Okay. Of course, spawn points, you can put multiple spawn points in your world, but be careful on where you put them because sometimes you might put them under the world. Everybody loads in and they're like, man, I'm falling out of this world. So a good rule of thumb on spawn points, and I'll just show you right now, is see this right here? This is the spawn point. If you load the spawn point right there and people load in, they're going to fall to the bottom of your world. It has to be above the world to where when they res in or when they drop in, they don't go through the floor. Okay, so I always say, bring your, especially when it's like an environment, bring your spawn point up about maybe, I guess this would be like 3 feet. I'm not sure the distance right here, but 3 to 6 feet is good. What's going to happen is when they load in, it might look like they're like jumping off something, but the thing is you're going to know that they're not going to fall through the world. So I've created worlds where I'm like, where did that spawn point go and why are they falling through the world? It took a little while to find it, and I'll show you a tool on how to find things. Okay, so let's go back into the system inventory. Spawn point we already covered. Spotlight, that's basically the light shining in one way. So this would be great for, I mean, right there, it's a spotlight, right? So great for night experiences, and this is where your expertise comes in over time when you start building these worlds and getting used to knowing where light needs to be and how light actually affects, reality. uh, you'll you'll start getting a lot of compliments from people saying, "Wow, this is a really nice world," and that's basically coming down to you knowing how to use lighting inside World. Okay, now we have trigger volume. This right here, all I'm going to say is this is what triggers scripts inside World. So this would be like if you walk through this box right here, it's going to trigger any script that you have designed in the world or that you have brought into the world. So for an example, let's say it's a automatic door going into like into a store. There's going to be a trigger box that they got to walk through that's going to engage the script that's going to open up the door. So think of it as like a sensor, okay, that's in world. So trigger volumes are important for virtually anything to make things to go into action. So what if it's like a spaceship taking off? Well, I could create a script where there's a spaceship there, and then I get up to it, and maybe I put a time script on it where, I need to be into the ship by maybe 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden it says, okay, get ready, it's going to take off. Well, that's going to be triggered by a volume. Okay, and we'll get more into that and how to use that. Okay, so moving right along, let's go up here and let's get into the scene objects. Now, like I was saying, I want to show you how to find objects. So say eventually this is going to fill up with so many objects and stuff, and you're going to be like, oh, I need to find this beach ball, right? Well, you might have 10 beach balls, but you need to find number 10, right? So what you would do is go into beach balls and it'd be labeled right here. So let's go ahead and I'll just give an example. Let me go ahead and duplicate this ball right here. Hit duplicate. Let me move it over. Okay, now we have another beach ball. Okay, I'll do it one more time. Let me right click on it, hit duplicate. There's other ways, there's other short keys you can use as well. So see how it's numbering it? So say I need to go beach ball number 2. Okay, I could just go just like that, right click on it and hit focus, and it'll bring me to that beach ball. Okay, so when you are trying to find things inside the world, that is how you look for it. Now let me show you another thing here. What if I wanted to put a bunch of beach balls in here, but not do it one by one? What I may do is I may hold down the control button. I may click on that one, and I may click on this one, and let's see how it has all 3 of them highlighted. Then I may go to the adjuster. I may right click on that, and I may hit duplicate. Check that out. It's almost like a dividing cell, right? Same thing, and this will save you a lot of work when you're trying to duplicate things inside World. Okay, so this is like the visual of everything, and the scene objects is actually like the nomenclature and everything that's like on a, it's your checklist, right? So, and I can give you other ways to use this that will help you be effective and efficient in designing worlds. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and exit out of that. Let's go into object structure. Okay, so this is where when you're putting like, this is, where you can see the volumes, you can see the mesh, and you can see, what type of scripts are in there. Okay, so this right here is like a script. This is the mesh. This is actually the design of it, and this is the volume, meaning that when I say volume in the virtual reality world, that means like it's the space that's taken up. So it's like I'm putting I'm putting mass on that. So this ball right here, when I say volume, see how it opens it up. This is like the collisions on this ball. So right here, you're not going to be able to go through this ball. So I can actually adjust that volume small, and then you can actually put your hand through the ball. Okay, so this basically puts the collision inside the world. Okay, so you got to be careful how you use all that. And we'll get more in detail with all this in the object structure and how to use it. Okay, so let's go back up here. Scene stats. Again, this is just another way to look at your data. I like, and it seems like they've updated a little bit here. It actually shows you where you're getting the heavy draw calls and how much space you're using on each one. So the skybox is 8 megabytes of data put in there. The floor is 5.3. So you got to be careful with all this stuff. And then when it's like you could be pulling stuff off of other sites that maybe they didn't, upload it right, and it was too big of a file, and you're like, wow, how come my scene's not, how come it's taking so long for my scene to upload? Well, you can actually go in here and you can say, well, I got something that's 150 megabytes. Well, we're going to take that out. That's not needed. And it could have been just a simple, maybe it's like a tree or something. Okay, well, I can do away with that tree, right? And that would actually allow you to, have a more effective and efficient scene. So let's just keep that in mind. Imports. So here's where, if you want to import stuff from outside Sansar into Sansar, this is where you would do it. So if I want to import a 3D model, I would basically go like this, grab the FBX file or the OBJ file, and take notes to this. This is what's cool about Sansar, okay? And I did not know this until recently, on that what you would do to create the mesh or collision is to actually add the same object that you add here as an FBX file or an OBJ file. You would add it here as well, and it would input all the physics and collision into that file. So this will save, this is so much time I saved, because what I was doing is I was actually adding collisions one by one. Say like a stairway case, it took me like almost a week to do that, and if I would have known about this, that would have took me 1 second. Okay. And of course, you have the materials right here. This is basically where you'd put the texture and the colors, and maybe the way you would make it look. So this would basically see how you have. Let me just move this over so you can see the colors of the ball, which would be. Let's just open this up so I can kind of explain that to you. So what I'm talking about is this right here. So so when you're uploading a new object into Sansar for the first time, you can actually put all the basically the shaders on it, okay? And what I mean by shaders is like this would be the main color of the object. So the albedo is the main color of the object. The normal would be like, it would give it, say this was like a rock, it would actually give you the indentation of that rock. Okay, then you have the roughness, which would actually basically it would actually accommodate the normal map. And then you have the metalness, which would be the shine. So as you can see here, this is on standard, and you can basically change this to whatever you want. I mean, in the imports, audio, of course, this is self-explanatory. Make sure you're uploading audio that is royalty-free, folks. Okay, please make that a note. It has to be royalty-free. If you upload stuff that's not royalty-free, you're just setting yourself up for failure, because what can happen is, say later on in the future, when maybe your scene becomes like a popular world and someone comes in, say you took someone's music, and they say, hey, that's my music. How come I hear it over here? That artist has the right to actually go back and find out when you did that, and say you're creating events where you're using their music and making money off it. Guess what? That could lead into a thing where you would be paying some royalty fees. Okay, so let's just do not upload sounds or music that's not royalty free. Okay, and then we have scripts right here. If you do, there's many scripters out there that build in this code. You can actually buy scripts from people and upload them in there, and it could be your own script that you can use. And of course, Skybox right here. Skybox, I can tell you this, it takes a lot to render a Skybox. I've actually designed and used the template. All I can say is you got to have a really good rendering system to bring in a really good Skybox. Okay, my computer just wasn't strong enough to render the Skybox that you needed, but you can just get it out right off the store. Okay, so let's go over to the eye visibility. This is all self-explanatory. Okay, when you click off that, anything that has an audio volume, it's going to be not visible. You're not going to be able to see it. What I can say is this right here is probably the most important thing that I use, is just to see where the collision is at. Okay, because if you don't have a collision on something, there's a lot of performance issues that you're going to have, meaning that, say this ball, it's like, why isn't the script working on this ball? Well, you need to have a collision. It needs to grab onto something, right? It needs to to have some, and that's how you're going to know if you have a collision. Now, this is another thing that you can use is, oh, did the wrong one. Let's go back over here. Say you have a invisible collision right here and you keep running into like a wall and you're like, why can't I go through this? Well, the only way you're going to know why you're colliding into something is actually to come into edit mode and turn on the physics on it. Okay, so this could be an actual wall right here. You're like, wow, never knew that was there. You can go on physics, click on that, delete it out, and then you're not going to have that in your way, okay? So that, I would say, is as far as I may take you on that. Let's just cover a couple other features here. Yeah, more options up here. Say you want to preview the audio and video in here. All you got to do is turn it off and click it back on, and you should hear what you uploaded if it is in your inventory. Folks, right here, save, build, and publish. Save frequently, save often, save as much as you can. I say every time you do something like 3 times, save, because you don't want to go build for 2 hours and then all of a sudden your internet goes out, or maybe Sansar is doing an update and you didn't save. Guess what? All that work will be lost, okay? So save as much as you can, save often, and that's going to save you a lot of heartache. Of course, build, this is when you hit build, you're actually going to be able to come into world. So let's just go ahead and hit build, save and continue. Okay, so here we are in world. And again, I put that on static so I can't move the balls there. But that's that, folks. I hope you found value in this. And what we will do is we will, let's go to the next module. DNA Elites Tutorials.